start?
Yeah, it's on.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us on another Real Talk Kingdom Discussions, episode 60. As we get ready to unwrap Uncommon Men, and it's spelled C-O-M-M-E-N. So it's a play on words, but it's trying to let you know about uncommon husbands. But when you think about that, that leads to uncommon men, and I think that's kind of what we lack. I think that's what we need today. Men gonna have to step up and do it a little bit differently than we've been doing it. And I think it's been leading to a lot of the problems that we have, not solely, but definitely contributing to it. And so we're going to talk about that today. So if you guys have a chance to dive in, please open up your Bible app and follow along with us. It's Uncommon Husbands. It's the first one. It's got 2 parts, but this is part 1. It's a 5-day plan on this one, and we'll see if maybe we may go through days 1 through 3. But we'll see. Thank you for that. You guys tune in live. We'll give you a few minutes, and we'll jam to Sounds of Zamar, More Like Him. All right. Thank you. Man, good to be here, man.
Yes,
Glad
sir.
to be here with you fellas today, man. I know it's been a few weeks. I think probably about 3 since we did the last one, episode 59. But when you get ready to go into the summer, you got a lot of things going on. People's graduations. A lot of us had to attend. Either we had either a child or a loved one or a family member, or niece or nephew. Somebody was graduating. Then you have people just trying to adjust with their summer schedules and stuff like that. So we're just trying to work around it. Brother Therese is out of town right now, but he'll be back joining us, I think, probably next week. Brother Pastor Lionel Johnson, of course, y'all know he does the baseball league with the kids, and so it's kind of hit and miss with him right now, but when he can, I know he'll be here. And we'll work through that throughout the summer. We're going to try to see if we can come up with a schedule that fits around everybody's schedule. We'll work on that. We'll be working on that. And as we do, we'll update that and let you guys know. But anyway, man, I'm still glad to be here, man. Sometimes things be trying to get in the way, but that's when you know it must be something powerful that needs to be talked about. So this is something that was brought up a few shows ago, and I think Pastor Ward has been wanting to talk about stuff like this for a while. And so we diving in. We've spoken about this in different aspects with the kids and stuff like that, but just diving in specifically with the uncommon husbands, that's a big deal. We got a few young newlyweds. I mean, when I say newlyweds, I mean even a few months. Pastor Wardell, not too long. I mean, how many months altogether?
8 months.
8 months altogether. Brother Tommy, a month. I mean, so it's got a lot. I think this is right on time.
Oh yeah,
it's right on time. Again, man, this is Pastor Wardell Dyson, Brother Tommy Charles, and of course myself. I'm Horace Martin, and we're gonna get ready to dive into this thing in a minute. But I just wanted to see how these fellas been doing, man, and I'll give them a chance to just say something for a minute, and then we'll dive in with our prayer as we always do, and then we're gonna get going, man. Anyway, man, you guys have anything y'all want to share, anything, any updates, anything that you want the people to know? Go ahead right now.
Just been busy, man. Keeping busy. We have our men's conference that's coming up on June the 26th, June the 25th and 26th, and we'll be having our early registration that Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Just trying to get everything kicked off by 9, and just want to invite everybody to come out and support. Man, I promise you, you're gonna have a treat on your hand if you come.
That's what's up, man. That's good stuff. Brother Tom, you got anything, man? You ready?
I'm much just ready to get into it.
You ready to dive in?
Yeah.
That's what's up. Good evening, Mr. Dyson. Good evening. And again, you guys, whoever watching interactively, please tune in, comment, leave questions, comments, suggestions, whatever, and we'll try to respond to them as soon as we can in real time. For those who can't catch it live, that's okay. We'll share it to our Facebook pages. On my page, we'll share it to the Real Talk with H. Martin, and then also we'll upload it to YouTube channel later on this evening. And the YouTube channel is the same name, Real Talk with H. Martin. Let me see. Hold on one second. Man, when I was thinking about this, I've been reading about it. I read probably this 5-day plan. I think I read 4 days of it. But in those plans, you can clearly see the message that they're trying to get across. And when you say uncommon husbands, they got whole lessons revolving around being uncommon. So this one is just on the husbands. But we read others when they were talking about being uncommon fathers and stuff like that. But we're going to tie this one into husbands as well as just men in general, because I do believe that's where it all starts at. Because if you're an uncommon husband, it leads to better quality uncommon men. Because we're raising young men, and I think sometimes the reason why some of these things are happening, and they're not totally, like I said earlier, some of these things that we're dealing with in the world today, just killing the innocent, random people in public places on display for a few moments of fame. Young men are not thinking about the consequences of their action. It's a sickness, really, truly. You have to be sick to do some of the stuff that they're doing, realizing that their life is thrown away immediately afterwards, but they're not even worried about that. I think the role of a lot of men when we were coming up and before my time was that men helped teach structure and discipline in the household. Not saying that women can't, but I'm saying men usually instill consequences for action. They talked about thinking about what you do before you do it. Think about all the consequences that come behind it. And sometimes you'll find that you still have to go through whatever it is that you're talking about, but at least you know what you're going to be dealing with when you do it. A lot of these kids, they're doing it and then they're crying. Emotional, shocked that they're going to jail. Right. Surprised, that they get shot on the spot when they do. But if you knew what your consequences were for your action, you should, if you're going to do stuff like that, you ought to be willing to sit there and wait for the police officer to come and go with your hands up and say, I'm ready to go. But they act surprised. That lets me know that they're not being taught structure and the discipline and consequences for your actions by holding them accountable as they grow up. That don't mean that mothers can't do it. There's got a lot of single mothers that have done a great job at it. I'm just saying that we do have a role, and our role is very significant. And I think before we become uncommon men and uncommon dads, we're supposed to be uncommon husbands.
Oh yeah.
And that's the first order.
Oh yeah.
And then the kids come after that. A lot of times we do it opposite that. A lot of us are responsible for that, and a lot of us are victims of that, if you want to use that word.
Oh yeah.
Where we wasn't in a husband-wife situation as we were growing up. And so they did the best that they could, whether it was through a stepfather or grandparents or uncle or somebody in the church or whatever that kind of gave you that father figure. But I think that we have kids, we're not necessarily having thought about a plan for them, and then we're not even with the person that we had the kids for. And I'm not saying you got to stay with them, I'm just saying we need to think about things like that a little bit deeper. And then if we think about that a little bit deeper, well, we becoming an uncommon husband. When we have children, we already mature enough in our mind to be wanting to teach them and ready to teach them about being an uncommon young man. And when they grow up as a collective unit, when you look at the world collectively, it seems like it's kind of impossible to fix what's going on.
Oh yeah.
We know God can do all, but it feels like where would I start?
Right.
But what I feel that the best thing, and sometimes when you do things like this, it takes a while to realize the results of this.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't know when it's going to actually reap any harvest.
Oh yeah.
But what I will say is I do believe that each household is responsible for their children.
Oh yeah.
And if you take it as an individual situation and not a collective, then the world will become a better place.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll start off with your own house, from your house to your neighbors, from your neighbors to your community, from your community to your town, from your town to your state, and so forth and so on. And that takes a while for you to see the fruits of that. So I think if you try to tackle it, looking at it as a worldwide thing, you will never be able to get started because you'll be feeling overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
But I think you start with the people that you're in close contact with. Touch them, affect their lives, and hopefully we're able to create and develop some uncommon men that can grow up to be uncommon husbands and that can raise some uncommon young boys to be uncommon men. That's just what I think. Go ahead, man.
When I think about uncommon, I think about not being ordinary.
That's right.
I think about it as being extraordinary. You go the extra mile of the way, in order to, be the man that you're supposed to be in the situation. Or you go the extra mile of the way to be the husband that you're supposed to be in a situation. I'm gonna dive in a little deeper whenever we get started.
Right.
But I just want to bring that point out because the thing about it is because if you're uncommon, that means that you're not ordinary. That
Right.
means that you go the extra mile of the way and that you're extraordinary.
That's right. That's good, man. That's good stuff. Of course, if you guys are first time viewers, when we hold up these signs, we'll hold these signs up to egg each other on. It's like, go ahead on, brother. Hey, man, dive in a little bit deeper. Or we don't think we diving in deep enough. We're trying to escape. So we don't want to escape, man. It's called Real Talk for a reason. Of course, we're going to always give the scripture to support our lessons. We get our lessons directly from the app. We always provide the scriptures that support it. But we also want to give y'all some people that are relatable. People that y'all see every day. And sometimes not even though some of the men on this panel are pastors and ministers, we all are not. But even those, sometimes you just need to see them away from the pulpit. And when you get to hear these messages, this is like our own 2020-something version of Bible study. But we're doing it in a way that people can come into the homes with us, share what we share, our experiences as we break down the lesson and expound on them. And hopefully we give you guys something that you can take home and apply to your own life. And again, real talk is real people in real life with real issues. That means you're going to have times on here when we're going to be up, and you're going to have times on here when we might have a show and we down. But we still try to go on through it, and we try to be honest about what's going on, with the respect of the persons that we may be having involved. Might not want to divulge just specific information, but we do talk about real stuff. And I think that's what makes the show what it is. We're trying to grow the show, and I know sometimes we have momentum, and then we'll have to stop for various things. It'll have sometimes they'll have a mandate for COVID that'll pop up, and we'll sit out 2 or 3 months. But we've always been over the long haul. We've been consistent of having a show. We had 60 episodes of this, and it started at the onset of COVID. So we have been diligent, and when we don't come, and we do miss for some reasons, it's always urgent by people inside the group to let's get it back going.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, man, I just want to say that. And before we get started, we're gonna have a word of prayer by Pastor Wardell Dyson, and then we'll dive right in.
Let's pray. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Father God, I ask that you lead, guide, and direct us into all truth. Father God, let us say what is supposed to be said about being an uncommon husband, Lord. Father God, bless our marriages, Lord. Each marriage on the panel, Lord, that is here. And Lord, bless each marriage on the panel that is not here. Lord, and that we ask that you just strengthen us, Lord, where we're weak at. Build us up where we're torn down. And prop us up on every leaning side, Lord, that we may be all that your desire for our hands to be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. That's good. Y'all ready, man?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna kick it off, man, and we're gonna go around like this here.
Okay. That'll work.
Uncommon. Again, that's spelled with M-M-E-N, not M-O-N. And that men part is highlighted in red.
That's right.
If you're not following along with this, it's trying to highlight exactly what they're speaking about not being just common, because the word common already is a play on words by just not being ordinary.
That's right.
But not only did that, they tied in men with it. So being uncommon husband. So we're gonna start, man. I got day one. Day one is about love is manly. Love is manly. It's a good one too. It's a good way to start it off, man.
Oh, yeah.
You might have heard the phrase, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. You think Paul wrote this phrase right after his call to the Corinthian men to act like men in 1 Corinthians 16 and 13. But he didn't. Instead, he wrote it after a passage you expect to find ensconced in crochet or festoon on flowery greeting cards. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Yeah, the love chapter. Love, quotations, in our culture is like WD-40. We spray it on everything. You right? We use that word loosely, very loosely.
That's right.
I love burgers. I love the Cowboys. Not me.
Not me.
I love the Saints. I love my wife. Hopefully our love for our wives means more than our love for cooked cow or grown men tackling each other.
Yeah.
Paul indicates there came a time in his life when he grew out of an immature, boyish love and embraced a more mature, and dare we say, manly love. So if you thought anything about love, you just learned right then that love is not only manly, but it's a more mature love.
That's right.
It says if we're going to love our wives like Christ loved the church, we must let the boy die.
That's right.
Not make him die, let him die. So that means naturally you are created in a way that there are phases in your life that are going to naturally take place.
Yeah.
It's just saying that when the boy has come to its conclusion, let him go.
Oh yeah.
Because it's going to happen anyway. But it's saying don't fight him. You understand? It is because he could have very well say make him die. No, you naturally want to grow up.
Oh,
you naturally want to mature.
Right.
It's saying when it wants to die,
let him die.
Let him die.
Right.
Catch that. Now. Let him die. All right, let me move on. And then marriage. That's far easier said than done. Check out the comparisons below. Boys retaliate quickly when hurt. Talked about that when we said about these young men responding emotionally. Reacting emotionally. Really, I shouldn't say responding. Remember, reacting emotionally. Because when you read into some of the depths, before they commit these atrocious crimes, a lot of them are saying things like they were bullied when they was a kid. They're depressed about something. So they are reacting to their emotions. And emotions are normally normally, not only, but when emotions take precedence over logic, that's normally a feminine viewpoint on things. Real talk, it's not taught. Men teach logic. Not that we're not emotional. I'm just saying men teach logic. We teach consequences. Not just saying that women don't have logic, but in general, we create it differently. Women sometimes react emotionally, and they can't help that. That's the way they was made. Men do too, but imagine when you take a man from the house, especially an uncommon man from the house. You don't have, you removed a very key component to raising a young boy.
Right.
Very key component. And even in the ones who have to do it, halfway or partially or joint custody stuff, something is better than nothing. I'm telling you.
Right.
It's still better than nothing. It's still, just make the time count though. Just make it count. It said boys retaliate quickly when hurt.
Yeah.
Most of these people are doing these things because they feeling a certain way about social media.
Right.
Feeling a certain way about internet bullying. Really do. And they react. It says retaliate when they hurt. Manly love is patient and kind, though.
Yeah.
Manly love is patient and kind. That means sometimes people don't deserve it either.
Right.
They don't even deserve your kindness, but that's the manly love about it, is that you say, I'm going to give you that anyway.
That's right.
I'm going to give you the patience. You know what I attribute that to being? When we were younger, a lot of times we would have little fights in our neighborhood, but there was no cameras around, no social media to document it and pass it on for weeks at a time. So when you had that little hand fight, you get past that fight, y'all start back playing either later that day or the next day or the next week. Y'all grow up to be young men. Y'all look over those fights that y'all had as those childish things. Y'all handshake, hug each other now. One of y'all might be the other one's pastor now. One of y'all might be the other one's barber now. One of y'all might be coaching the other one's son now. And y'all realize that those little skirmishes that y'all had, they were for childish things. It was a childish, boyish thing. Right. And y'all grew out of that. Right. So when it says manly love is patient and kind, it's saying that I know what we're doing is boyish, but I'm willing to give you that manly love so I have patience that in due time our relationship will change. And it'll go from boyish to manly. It says boys require constant affirmation. Always gotta approve them and pat them on the back and tell them that they're special. Keep saying there's nothing wrong with doing it, but they require it. You understand? A lot of times men in a household, they don't need no pats on the back. They just don't want to be torn down. Right. But it do feel good still as a man to get a pat on the back sometimes, but we don't require it. We know our role and we're supposed to do that regardless. But it says manly love is not arrogant or rude. Boys stoop, stammer, and hold grudges when they don't get their way. But manly love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Boys try to win every argument. I've been there as a man, like in age, as a man in age, but still had boyish ways. And I'm not telling you it won't pop out every once in a while now, but I'm telling you I'm changing. You know, I'm growing. As you read, you learn. As you do learn more, you should do more, and you should be better forward. It says that, but manly love does not rejoice at wrongdoing. I'm not excited when I see somebody doing something wrong. It's not a great thing to be filming people fighting in the neighborhood. That's not a wonderful thing to be filming somebody getting shot and talking about it and posting it and reposting it. You know what I'm saying? What you should be doing, putting the cameras down, and since you have an influence with one of the guys that's on the camera fighting, you ought to be saying, hey man, that's not for us. We need to change that. We've been doing this far too long. How about let's come together, man? We don't have to fight for every time we have a disagreement. How about let's try this way? That's what you're supposed to do. You know, we pick up the camera and we encourage that type of behavior. That's what we do, man. It says that boys have a short fuse. Again, that's an emotional reaction. You know what I'm saying? But manly love bears all things. It tolerates. That's what that word bears means. It means it tolerates. It deals with, puts up with. Boys write people off when they're wronged. Manly love believes God's best for the relationship. Boys lose hope after they're hurt. But manly love always hopes for reconciliation, regardless of the pain. And I know people like that to this day. Some people in a marriage to this day are one of the persons in that marriage. They're the person in that marriage that is always trying to find the right button, the right word to say to reconcile. They don't want to let that linger on. One of the persons, sometimes you'll find in a marriage, they can linger with that for over a week or two. But then it's usually one of the persons in that marriage or in that relationship, or even in a father-mother relationship that wants to fix that. Don't want to lay down like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't want to let too much time go by without being reconciled. And so they said, but manly love always hopes for reconciliation regardless of the pain. Boys expect to be served, but manly love endures all things. What's one way to let the boy die you this week? Endure a minor offense. Endure somebody not speaking back to you when you spoke first. I've done it. And I don't like how I feel, but you don't have to say nothing to them because they didn't speak, because you're being just like them then. Right. When you speak to them and they don't speak to you back for whatever reason, because of race or whatever it is, you feel something that makes you feel like I shouldn't even waste my breath. Right. That's the natural side of you. But what I'm saying is, to become an uncommon man, endure that. Be patient with that. Realize that, you know what, I can't control that, but I can control my actions. And all I'll do is pray that people get better with relations in this world today. I'll just pray for people. I'll pray for them. That's that's what separates common from uncommon. Common is what you naturally feel. That's what everybody wants to do. It's the sinful way. It's our nature. We were born in sin. We want to do the thing that's wrong. We want to say, you know what, hell with that. Real talk, I don't want to speak to people no more until they speak to me first. That's the natural nature. That's right. That's ordinary, like you said. That's common. Go against that, become uncommon, and do the things that are harder to do. That's right. It says, another thing, reflect on a criticism rather than retaliate. You ever heard of what they call it, constructive criticism? Yeah. When it's meant to build you up. Right. Not tear you down, but I'll be less than a friend, less than a supervisor, less than a mentor if I don't share where I think that you might could have some little help in an area. But at the same time, I'm wondering how you might take it. If you know you have a struggle with that, how about try that this week? If that comes into play this week for you, instead of retaliating like you normally want to, think about it, reflect on it. Think about what they're saying. Is it useful? Is it beneficial? Is it for me, for my betterment? Right. Look at it like that. Right. It says, serve in a tangible way. I mean, in a hands-on way. That means touch something. That's right. Pick up on something. That's what that means. Go somewhere. Knock on a door. That's what that means. It says, put the toilet seat down. If that's something you don't do, because you got, not that you're trying to be rebellious or go against what you think would help relations in the household. It's just, these are little quirks that make a marriage more tolerable. Everybody comes from different backgrounds. Some things that you do that you didn't mean no harm. You leave a towel in the face bowl. You didn't mean no harm. You're going to use it again. Well, you know your wife don't like that. She wants to wash that when you use it one time. Well, just accept that. Right. Go put it. It's not worth all the other stuff with it. Don't be trying to be so contrary all the time. You know what I'm saying? It says that offer to take the kids when you are tired. Make the bed with all the pillows placed perfectly, just like she liked it. They didn't say that, but that's what they really said. Right. How she liked it. Right. So you saw how she make the bed up? I know how to make a bed up. I grew up when we knew how. We learned. They said, don't try to be contrary. Some people just do stuff contrary. Out of spite. I don't want to do it like this. And the way I was raised, you know, if that makes her feel good, just go ahead on and do it. And vice versa for her too. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes a woman just don't want to do something the way you might like a meal because she just think that's how your mama always did it. She wants to be different. But I'm saying don't look at it that way, women. I'm saying look at it like that. That makes him happy. Right. Don't, you know, of course you don't want to be compared. I'm hoping he's not comparing you, but just because he said he like his bread toasted and not regular, and you gonna go out of your way to not toast it just because you think his mom, that's not, you making things where it was nothing. You thought it was nothing. You're being petty. You know what I'm saying? It says that at the end of this letter to the small church in Corinth, Paul wrote, stand firm, act like men, be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. This might have been Paul's way to say, be uncommon. That's right. Then he says, let all that you do be done in love. That's right. 1 Corinthians 16:14. One of the manliest things a man can do is love his wife in a manly way. That's right. Manly way don't mean because you a male in gender. It don't mean because you a macho and you bigger than her. It means in a way that Christ loved the church. Right. It means in a mature way. It means in a way when your natural instinct telling you not to be that way, but you know. So if you ever considering what's the right way, always think about what's the hardest to do.
Right.
I'm serious. If you're trying to figure out what's the right way, what's God's way, you remember you were born in sin. Your nature is to be sinful. Mm-hmm. As you grow closer to God, it'll become easier. But you're going to always be fighting against your flesh, right? Mm-hmm. But as you feed your spirit, man, it will become a little bit easier. But even when we read in the previous lessons, it said you will never, it won't be 100% ever. But it can go from being 30 to 40% to about 95% of the time when you're actually able to overcome the flesh and win because your spirit man is being fed the most. So in a situation like this, it's saying, love your wife in a manly way. I think that if I tie this into being an uncommon man too, it's trying to do things in order, not the way that seems popular. What I mean is, I know this is a tough concept, but we really were truly supposed to not have children before we got married. We were really supposed to not have sex before we found a wife. We keep doing things out of order and we act like we don't understand why our world is out of order. It's out of order because we are being very common. You know, we're being what's natural for us, and that's to be sinners. We want to sin, you know. Wake up out of the womb, you want to sin. Right. Babies, not even knowing how to talk, want to be wrong. They want to do the wrong thing. Right. Even when they start crawling, they'll look up at you to see if you approve of it because they want to do something that they think in their natural self, not even having really a lot of understanding, but they know it's against what probably is right. Right. And they look up. I know y'all have seen little kids. Yeah. They don't know a lot, but they know that that's wrong. And they're looking at you to see if it's okay. So, man, before I go on and read the scriptures, I'll give these guys a chance to expound on anything that we talked about in day one.
Showing manly love is basically, man, has to deal with spiritual growth and maturity. Because at one point in our life, we all could admit that we once were boys in our life. Right. We didn't think, you know, the way that we were supposed to think. We didn't do the things that we were supposed to do within our life. But when we matured in some things, that's when we put away the childish things within our marriage. The thing about being uncommon and being a man is knowing how to admit when you're wrong. That's right. In a situation. Because as a man, me being a man that I was, that was a hard thing for me. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, is to admit when I was wrong. Right. You know, because a lot of people think that being in error is a bad thing. But really, as me being with my wife now, being in error could be a good thing because you don't know what you have to grow from until you attack that thing that you have to grow from. Right, that's right. So the thing about it is, man, a lot of men fall short because they feel like that I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. I'm prideful. But when you're acting in pride and when you're acting in ego, are you really a man or do you still have that boy on the inside of you? Right. So the thing about it is, man, when in this life, we have to grow into what God has us to be. Just like the story said, let the boy die every day. I mean, and this is a daily walk because the thing about it is a lot of things that goes on within us don't happen overnight. But when it does happen, you'll feel when it happened. And the thing about it is, man, I said it like this, and I said it in my message Sunday. If we learn how to treat our wives like our wives was our anointing, then we wouldn't abuse our wives. We wouldn't misuse. We wouldn't mistreat our wives. We would treat our wives with the respect. And a lot of men, all right, will say, well, you are a man, you're henpecked because you feel like that you have to tell your wife where you're going. You feel like you got to communicate with your wife. But the thing about it is you're building a healthy marriage because you're not trying to be common, but you're trying to be uncommon.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's good. It's good. Brother Tom, you have anything on day one?
Yeah, the world defines a man as the outside appearance, being tall, poking your chest out, always being right. That's what the world defines as a man. But that's not the qualities of a man. The quality of a man is what's in the inside.
That's right.
You see, you can be the shortest, doesn't matter what amount of money you make, as long as you're working on the inside of you, the outside will come. And in a sense, there are so many husbands who abuse their authority as well with their wives.
Yeah.
Because the Bible tells us in Ephesians 5 to, love your wives as Christ loves the church. And to love your wives as you ought to love yourself. So
That's right.
whenever you're in a situation, look at it as when I want someone talking to me this way, like if you're talking to your wife about a situation or it's just anything going on, would you want her to talk to you that way? And I think in a sense, isn't it wives have to respect, tells us the wife to respect the husband and this and that. So how can wives respect us if we're not?
What that says in the sense of it says that wives have to submit themselves to their own husband as their husband submit to God.
Right. That's right. I got you. That's good. That's good. Man, main thing that I got from day one was pretty much allow that boy to die.
Oh yeah.
God did design you, and you are created in His image.
Oh yeah.
And so, in His image, you were created to mature, and not mature on the outside only, but to mature internally as well.
Right.
But until we grow and get closer to God with a personal relationship, we can be grown up on the outside and very boyish on the inside. I mean, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And a lot of times we have grown men that can be 50, but they still act boyishly.
Right.
And you would be hard pressed to try to explain to them that they're being immature because they think that it's about age. It's not about age. You can get on the other hand, you can have a 21-year-old that acts more mature than a 50-year-old because it's on the inside first.
That's right.
You ever hear somebody say you mature for your age? That's what they're really saying in essence.
Right.
They may just not be talking about the spiritual side, but in one respect, they're talking about you being beyond your years. Right. And at the end of the day, you are supposed to put the boyish things away. Things that you did as a child, they're not supposed to follow you into manhood. Moving forward, man. 1 Corinthians 13, of course, I read that. Said, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. And I won't read 1 Corinthians 13 because it's talking about love is patient, love is kind. We went through that through the lesson.
Yeah.
And that'll wrap up my day one. We'll move on to day two with Pastor Dyson. Right. What's day two? Day two is about why do you love your wife? Go ahead.
Okay.
Perfect.
Why do you love your wife? Don't think too hard. Just answer in one or two phrases. I'm going to wager you to pick from a couple of general themes. Maybe you love her because of something she does for you. She's beautiful. She's funny. She makes you feel strong. She lifts you up. She's godly. She's funny in bed. Or you love her because it's expected. You know it's the right thing to do. After all, Paul says, husbands, love your wives, Ephesians 5:25. Perhaps it's a mixture of both. The first motivation capitalizes on her performance. The second focus on your obligations. Both reasons are common, and both reasons eventually runs out of steam. As men, we tend to love skinny gadgets, shiny gadgets. We crave the latest and the greatest. So when the shine wears off a man's bride, it's no wonder we are tempted to pine for an upgrade. You may not pursue another woman, but if your primary motivation for loving your wife is her performance at times, you secretly hope your wife will change. You may even drop some of the subtle hints. You're working out today. Remember when you wore a bikini. I love the way Darren's wife talked about him to others. Paul calls us to love our wives as Christ loved the church, but then Paul gives us motivation because one day Jesus will present the bride back to God. Ephesians 5:26-28. I'm guessing when Paul wrote this phrase, he might have read Ezekiel 16:8-14 that morning. God never loved Israel because of how she looked in the mirror or her impressive resume. God's bride blossoms after the wedding day and becomes more beautiful and splendid over time. Because she works out, not because she worked out or aged gracefully, but because God loved her into radiance. Mm-hmm. If a man views the wedding day as the height of his bride's beauty, then he will never love like Jesus. Oh. He'll constantly be comparing what was rather than anticipating his role in what could be. For Jesus, the wedding day was simply the start of a lifelong extreme makeover designed to advance his bride to royalty. When we love someone based on their performance, what they said, how they act, how they look, eventually they will let you down. None of us are perfect, and if you're honest, you long to be respected and loved by your wife because of you who are. You respect and loved by your wife because of you who are, not what you do or how you look. Trust me, as you get older, the mirror will become far more revealing than appealing. Performance-driven relationships are exhausting. When we love based on obligation, eventually marriage transforms into a cold union. Duty without a sense of glory always leads to drudgery, and drudgery always leads to death. And may not be the death of a marriage, but many marriages experience the death of intimacy. They married a soulmate, but ended up with a roommate. Why do you love your wife? If it's because of how she makes you feel or because it's your duty, you'll end up with a common marriage. But if you want to be uncommon, love your bride as Christ loves the church, who saw the glory in one day presenting his bride back to his heavenly Father, even more beautiful than the day they got hitched. You'll discover a few ways to love your wife until radiance through this plan and find easy tips to strategize and build husband muscle mass at Uncommon. Be Uncommon this week. Submitted by Uncommon coach Brian Goins. In this, it's telling us not to love our wives because of she just looks so beautiful, because she can perform so well in the intimate moments. The thing about it is, I always tell my wife, I want to be intimate within her mind first, before we can be intimate in another way.
Right.
And then the thing about being intimate is not always about being in the bed.
Right.
You can be intimate with your wife by holding her in your arms. You can be intimate with your wife by telling her, "Baby, you look beautiful today," or something like that. But the thing about it is, it's building a lifetime commitment with each other, because a whole lot of people grow out of love with their wives because, first of all, they don't have the commitment there.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is, when all the things go out of whack, and when we don't have that time to where we could show love to each other by making love, when we grow old with each other. And when we grow to the place where, we have this lifetime commitment with each other, we should build our foundation on love instead of the performance and the beauty that we get out of our wives. We build our foundation on love.
Right.
Because when we love our wives and our husbands, we really supposed to love them with an unconditional love.
Right.
We really supposed to love our wives with the same love that God loves us with.
Right.
We really supposed to love our wives like Christ loved the church. What did Christ do for the church? Christ in his glory was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for us by laying down his life for us.
Right.
So then in turn, as a husband, we ought to be willing to lay down our lives for our wives.
Right.
And everything. And when all of that stuff fades, all right, when we get up in age, and when I said like this, not to be funny, when I get up and got up and went.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? The thing about it is, our foundation has to be built on love.
That's good.
And that's that agape love that only comes from God.
That's good, man. Man, that was a great day. Just piggybacking off of what Pastor Dyson was speaking about. One of the main things I got from it was that it doesn't end at the altar, but it also don't end on the wedding day.
Right.
When you have your bride in all her glory, it don't end when it's based on just her performance. When you're talking about being an uncommon husband, it can't stop right there. Sometimes they say it's like a fine wine, it gets better with age.
That's right.
But it's also what you do in that time span to get it better with age. It ain't gonna just happen just because y'all put 20 years in. It's gonna happen because y'all put 20 years of work in.
That's right.
And y'all were seeking God to help y'all become an uncommon couple the whole time. So y'all wedding day was just the start of it. I'm gonna bring it into focus with you real quick. I compare what they spoke about in their lesson about the wedding day from man to wife, just like they said about Christ with us and presenting us back to God.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is so excited about presenting us back to God, but he's not talking about on the day we got hitched.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning he's not talking about on the day we got saved or born again. He's talking about the mature, uncommon lifestyle that we've lived after that day. Over time, we've gotten better as Christians. We've gotten better with our partners. And even though we're talking about the husband side, flip that over, it's women as well. It's as a couple. It takes two. But he's talking about, he's anticipating the day that he presents his church back to God. So that means that if you is anticipating presenting something to God, that means you have to be more than pleased with it.
Right.
It cannot be ordinary,
Right.
and it can't be common because He's not a common God. So if Jesus is anticipating presenting us back to God, meaning His church, meaning His people, then why didn't He focus on the day of salvation as a day to present us back? Because He knew that that's just the beginning of it, just like the day of your marriage. If all y'all talking about is the wedding day and the pictures that go with it,
Right.
and Photoshop that y'all got and all the different settings, even though that is very nice and it's beautiful and it is well deserved, your marriage only begins there. And it's all about the work that you put into it after that day. When nobody's looking, when ain't no cameras on, when ain't nobody videoing y'all, ain't no videography being made. It's about what y'all are doing behind closed doors to make it where God wants to, where you want to present that marriage to God. Just like Jesus is looking forward to presenting His church to God, you should be looking forward to presenting your marriage to God as well. But go ahead, man.
Why do we think people, when they get married for the first time, why you think 10 years, 20 years later, people want to renew their vows again? Because this is a scenario that I got from that whole situation. Is because the person that they see 10 years from now is not the same person that they see the first time they got married.
Right.
Because if you look at the situation, 10 years from now, you put the work in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And 10 years from now, you're able to grow on one another. So that makes your love even more desirable for one another because of the things that you face together in life, the experiences that you went through in life. So that's what makes your love stronger. And whatever you build your foundation on, that's what your marriage is going to stand on. Say that to say this. Some people, I don't know why God bringing this out of me, but if some people build their foundation on sex,
Right.
and that's why they fall out of love with each other.
Right.
Some people build their foundation on loving God. And that is the marriages that you see last 40, 50 years. Because not saying that marriage is going to be easy, because marriage is hard work.
Right.
If you're willing to put in the work. And not saying that it's going to always be sunshiny days on marriage. But when you grow on each other and you glow with each other, that what makes your marriage strong, because you're willing to fight throughout the things that you have to do to make you grow into what you have to become in your marriage.
Yeah, man.
That's what makes it good.
I want to say one thing before I pass it on, because I ain't gonna forget this thought. But the thought was that many times on wedding day, whether you do it traditionally in the church or have some big venue or wherever you do it, justice of the peace or whatever.
Right.
No matter where it was done at,
That's
I
right.
think sometimes we marry each other for who we are.
That's right.
Okay, you'll say, well, what's wrong with that? Nothing really. But I think if we put a little more stock into who we will become or may become, that's kind of what you're basing it on. Because that wedding day is only a temporary day.
That's right.
What you should be doing is basing your marriage on, yes, I do like who they are, I love who they are, and that's what got me to the altar. But what I really am banking on is who they can become.
That's right.
Real talk, because the potential in them. You see something in them that is beyond that day. Most of us are not finished on their wedding day.
That's
We
right.
were just enough though for them to want to be married.
That's right.
But if you stop there and you stay the way you were on wedding day, 15 years down the road, she's not gonna like that guy still.
That's right.
And you're not gonna like her either.
That's right.
I'm telling you, you're not gonna like the girl that you married 15 years ago.
That's right.
If she stayed the same way she was 15 years ago, because you're going to grow and she's not, or vice versa. She's going to grow and you're not. So what I'm trying to say simply is that same way God is waiting and looking forward to presenting us, because He realizes that we're not done at salvation. You're not done on wedding day. You should be looking forward to what y'all can become together. And it's just that I'm good enough to date her, to make her interested in me, to make him interested in me, to want to be. and to want to see what our future holds. But it's nowhere in the world if somebody told you, I guarantee you 15 years from now, Tommy will not ever change. He's going to be Tommy Charles that you married that day. If she thought about that deeply, she's going to realize, Michaela I'm talking of, that's not who she's going to want when she's 40. Right. She's not. Right. She don't want Tommy from 2022. She going to want Tommy in 2042. I'm just being honest. That's right. That's just what it is, man. So moving on, man. Moving on. Tommy, you got anything, man?
Yeah, I think with the point I was trying to make earlier, I got kind of tongue-tied and gathered my thoughts, but the intangible. You know, money, we live in a world where money is the solution to everything. My wife mad at me, just give her a few dollars. You know, whatever. Like, money is the biggest deception out here is money. Right. The material things, the tangible. But money can't buy you a compliment. Right. You know, money can't buy you, you know, just a simple hug, hugging your wife after a long day. You know, she's stressed out, rubbing her feet. Just little things. Money can't buy that. You know, money can't buy the inside. You know, the sentimental, the intimacy, just that.
It's the things that are, just like you said, they come from within.
Right, exactly.
And those are, they really the things of God, really, because they're the things that may not always be natural. Right. But they are very much needed.
Exactly.
That's right.
And as I was reading this too, I thought about, I noticed a trend that my grandparents' era, I wonder how their relationships lasted so long, but nowadays, 5-10 years, people divorce. Right. Because the older generation, they didn't have much. They didn't have all this money, all these distractions. Right. There's a lot of distractions in this world. That's right. There's a lot of distractions. That's it. And the older generation, they love from within. Yeah, so that's why you see our grandparents still together, been together since Michaela's grandparents been together since middle school, 6th grade. That's amazing. That's right. And it's just like, it goes to show that it's possible. You know, a lot of people, they marry in the moment. Like y'all said, it was some great points. They marry in the moment, like the person they are right now. But the older generation, I guess they look beyond that. Yeah. That's why it lasts so long. Right. And that's something I've been thinking about that I want too. I don't want to just be a stereotype, especially with black men. It's like, 5-10 years, they're going to be separated, 2 kids, 2 baby mamas, whatever. I don't want that. You know, I don't want my kids to have to grow up like that. When I have kids, God be willing. Yeah. So it's just a matter of just preparing for the future and loving your wife in ways that money just cannot.
That's right. You know, a real moment right now, real talk. I'm going to say something real.
Say something real. Say it real.
Man, a lot of people just, when they marry someone, they marry them for who they were that day, of course. Right. They might have had ideas of what they could become together, but they didn't truly think about that, and they probably didn't pray with that person, with God, in front of God with it. Because many times, especially a lot of men, but not just men, women too. And what you were saying, why a lot of the older couples stayed together, some of it was due to, like what he said, internal love. And also sometimes it was due to circumstances as well. They had more kids. It was a little tougher to be separated. Right. But they also were taught to grind that out a little bit more. Oh, yeah. If they reacted all the time instead of responding, they were left too. It's not that the marriage was perfect. They were some of them 17 years old when they got married. And I had a grandmother who was 13, her husband was 17, my papa. You think they didn't go through changes as they got 13 and 17? But what it was, they didn't leave. Whatever the reason is, whatever circumstances, whatever God do things, make you have to stay there a little longer, but it helped them figure out how to find their sweet spot. Everybody got a sweet spot, you know what I'm saying? On the basketball court, you got a spot where you like to shoot your jumpers at. Well, marriage has got a sweet spot too. They got a sweet era. It's a time frame you have to get past so that you learn all the intricacies about each other. And you learn how to tolerate. See, look, it's not about what's the best thing about them, because we love that. It's about what's the worst about them that I can tolerate. See, you got things about people that are just too much to tolerate. Well, that's when you know that's probably not a person for you. So it's not about what's best of them, because that's what made you like them anyway. You looked at the best of them. It's when I've been around them and I'm living with them, their worst day. What does that worst day look like? See, some people's worst day is very bad. Then some people's worst day is just, I don't want to talk for you for a while. I need a little space. Right. Some people's worst day is they tear up stuff. Some people's worst day, they want to call the police on you, get you arrested. Right. It depends on what you tolerate when they're at their worst. Because if it's just the best, every time you get in a new relationship, it's great then. It always feels good. That's why people be talking about this little cliche about greener pastures. Things look greener on the other side. The grass is not always greener on the other side. It feels good. It's just a feeling. Love, the way we talking about, is not common, so we're not talking about the feeling of love. We're talking about uncommon love. And that means you're able to withstand, and it bears. It's able to tolerate. It's patient and kind. That means it deals with when he was a little immature and didn't let the toilet seat down because he was being a boy. But I love him anyway because of who he could become. Instead of me arguing with him all the time about it, I made sure that he knew that I had a problem with it. But then I started praying that God work on him and let him develop in God's time. And over time, see, that's when you're going to find out your husband is all the person who you thought he could be. But see, when we get what we call it self-sufficient, we forwardly mobile, like they like to use the word, where we have a little bit more money than our family parents used to have. We start feeling that we don't need the other person because we base it on material lifestyle, material living. Women say that I don't have to have that man because I don't have 10 kids. I only got 2, and I can take care of my kids on my own without a man. Well, see, that ain't why God wanted you to get married. God didn't want nobody to get married so you can help take care of kids. He wants you to get married because that's what he relishes. That's what he believes in. That's what he blesses, and then everything good comes after that. So a lot of times when we get a little bit better off, we have less patience. But when we didn't have a dime or a pot to piss in, like they say, you'll take more from a person because you really have circumstances that have dictated the fact that you stand with them. Because I can't quite leave right now. My credit ain't where it need to be for me to get something on my own. So people be always plotting while the other one not even knowing. They're working on things, but they're not working on it because they're thinking about for the benefit of the two. They're working on it so they're thinking about in case I have to. So when you already have that in case I have to leave one day mind frame, you're going to have to leave one day. I'm just telling you that. So when you're getting things done because in case you have to take care of yourself, then one day you're going to have to take care of yourself. So what I'm saying is the things that you're building from that first day you got married, y'all supposed to build these things together. So if you was going to school and you had your bachelor's degree, and it takes for now for you to get your master's degree to get the job you want, and your husband sacrificed to work extra hours so that you can do that. No, he didn't go to school for you. But your husband is instrumental in you being able to concentrate on getting that master's degree. But a lot of times you get that master's degree and you just say, I did that. And he don't have nothing to do with that. But see, if he's your husband the way God says, then you're going to realize the things that he did to help make it easier for you, because while he was doing that, you wasn't paying the same bills that you used to pay. Somebody had to pick up that slack. He picked that slack up. He don't have the degree, but that's y'all degree. I'm just telling you straight up, that's y'all's degree. You know, his promotion on the job, that's y'all promotion.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't get promoted before he can just start doing things, stashing money to the side to take care of his little selfish thing. That's y'all promotion. That's right. And that's how we're supposed to look at things. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, man. Jump in.
In a marriage, man, we have to look at it like this. We have to look at it as two individual companies merging together.
That's good.
So the thing about it is, you know, this person has this background that they came from. The other person have that background that they came from, and y'all trying to merge that together. Because when me and my wife got married, she told me up front, she said, "Man, I want to get to know you, the good, the bad, and the ugly." Because when you're in a relationship and stuff like that, you can see the good in a person, because a person could make up how they want to be. You know what I'm saying? But once the person be around you enough to see the real you, because I don't know nobody in this life that done seen the real me besides my wife.
Right.
Because she's been there with me through the tough times in life, to where I was still immature in some ways. And had to really reach some maturity to get to the point where I am right now and stuff like that. And we've been in the two businesses now, as I said in the beginning, that are merged together. Now, when you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, now you're able to merge together as one unit. That means that the first year to 5 years are very crucial in your marriage, because that's when the two companies getting to merge together, to know each other. That just like now, I'm finna be married 8 months. On June the 10th, of this month I'll be married 8 months. But the thing about it is we had to get in the first, like I say, 5-6 months, we had to get to know each other
Right.
for who we were. It was rough sometimes. Sometimes it was painful. But the thing about it is, once we got to know each other for who we were in a situation, I know who she is. She know who I am. She know what pushes my buttons. I know what pushes her buttons. I know what to do. I know what not to do. She know what to do. She knows what not to do. Now that we know each other, now we can be able to come to this common ground and be the husband and wife that God is calling on us to be. That takes growth and maturity.
All the time. All the time. I want to read a couple of comments before we move forward. Ms. Dyson said you have to grow through what you go through today.
Yes.
So I know they talk about this stuff.
Yes.
But he just was saying he didn't even see that. She said the elevator must continue to go up. Don't get stuck. Grow. She said learn the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And learn how to navigate through. That's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Ms. Trina. Thank you for those comments. We're going to move on forward with day 3. Day 3, Brother Tommy Charles is going to read us day 3.
All right, day 3. Uncommon husbands are thermostats, not thermometers.
Wow.
All right now.
I have a gift. I can take my wife's emotional temperature from across the room.
Yes.
When she is hot and I don't mean ready to slip into between the sheets with me, I seek a cooler climate, perhaps on the deck with an iced tea. When she's cold, I look for a warmer personality like a TV to keep me company. Paul says cherish our bride like we cherish our own bodies. The word means bring warmth to, and from which we derive our words thermal and thermostat. Unless you are in a SEAL training, you instinctively cherish your body. If it's too hot outside, you put on your sandals and crank up the AC.
Correct.
If it's too cold, you don the merino wool socks and build a fire.
Correct.
That's right.
When Paul tells us to love our wives as we love our own bodies, he's encouraging us to cherish their emotional needs in the same way we cherish our own physical needs.
That's right.
If she's chilly, it's our job to warm her up.
That's right.
If she's steaming, then we help her lower the mercury.
That's right.
In other words, the call to cherish means we have to engage when we'd rather shrink back.
Yeah.
Whenever I sense a slight irritation with my wife, my tendency is to pull away. But if I get a tiny silver in my finger, my whole body springs into action. My nerves shoot pain warnings to my brain. Like missile lock, my eyes fix on the problem. My legs halt any movement. My other digits dig out the intruder. Proportionally, the silver affects a small surface area, but my whole body responds. I wish that was true in my marriage. When the silver of bitterness or frustration gets between us, rather than initiate, I let it fester. Paul says earlier in this letter, do not let the sun go down on your anger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's good, man. That was good. So all the sweet too is what I got from you, and I'm real quick on this one, is that like you said, you couldn't have said it no better than just the title when it says uncommon husbands are thermostats, not thermometers.
Yeah.
We're supposed to gauge the temperature of our person,
That's
of our
right.
wife. You're supposed to know it. And if you don't know it right away, you need to learn that.
That's right.
And then you're supposed to be able to accommodate whatever that thermostat reads. Because if you was in your house in the summer, you're not going to turn on the heat in Louisiana. You're just not.
That's
Just
right.
like you said, we cherish our body. Unless you're in the Navy SEAL, when they're taught to learn how to go against the grain with their body,
Yeah.
they're taught to endure pain and to endure things that a normal human body would be able to not be able to tolerate. Navy SEALs are taught to withstand those things. Extreme temperatures, extreme pain, extreme exhaustion. But he's saying unless you that, so that means everybody else other than those types of people, we're taught to cherish our bodies. So we always try to accommodate our bodies because we're gauging the thermostat. You know, if you fit, when you step outside in the morning, yeah, you might have got it on your phone what the weather's like, but most of us still stick our head out in the morning just to double check.
That's right.
And when we double check, that gives us a gauge on what we're going to dress like, right? I mean, that's simple. You don't have to ask nobody to do that. That's what they do. So you need to know your partner like that. She needs to know you that same way. And he said a key thing, and I'm moving on and let them have it, was because I know I would too, because none of us like confrontation, and sometimes we don't even like to hit it head on. because we don't know what she might say when we ask her what's ailing her, what's her problem, what's the issue.
Right.
So a lot of us do shrink back. We just let it pass over and hope she'll be better the next day. But I done found, knowing this time in this marriage that I'm in now, that that's not gonna never be the answer. It might be the answer for that day. Maybe you can't get through that day, but eventually y'all gonna have to talk about what
That's
it is.
right.
Y'all gonna have to talk about that, and y'all gonna have to find a common ground and a resolution, because that'll fester. Just like he said, and that small thing becomes a big thing.
Right.
Man, go ahead, man.
All right, just like I said earlier, if we treat our wives as we treat our anointings, we won't abuse our wives. We won't misuse our wives. We'll learn how to be keen listeners whenever they are getting their point across about something, or whenever they having human moments or something like that. Learn to listen as a husband instead of being so talkative all the time and giving your point of view all the time. How can I say this? Because I had to learn this within my own marriage, because sometimes our wives want to be able to vent out to us about things, and they don't need our words of advice all the time about things. They just need that shoulder to cry on sometimes and to vent out sometimes. Sometimes this is something that I've learned with being with my wife now. Sometimes we have to know the difference between the two. Sometimes we have to know when they need their husbands. Sometimes we have to know when they need their best friend. Sometimes we have to know, in my case, when they need a pastor to talk to. We have to know the difference between all of those, because when you know what they need at that time, you'll be able to be more supportive to what they need.
That's good. That's good, man. That's good. That's good, man. You got it, brother Tom.
I was just kind of thinking about the stuff y'all was saying. I'm going to school for counseling, and basic things in a counselor is you don't do a lot of talking.
Right.
And I think you can take this exact same principle to our marriages. You know, when our wives are upset, they're frustrated, they had a long day, like you said, they're shoulder to cry on. You don't have to say much.
That's right.
Sometimes everything you want to say can just be through a hug, just a simple kiss, you know, just lay down, let's watch a movie, let's chill, whatever. There's always have to be just you talking. And my grandma always told me, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You know, we should do more listening than talking. And it's funny, but it's really true.
That's right.
Especially in a situation like that, when, you know, they're frustrated, they're heated, you know, just be there for them, support, you know, that love, the intimacy. That's what they need.
Right.
That's good, man.
That's what we all need, really. It's not just wives.
We just shared it from the men's side, but you can very well flip that over from the women to the men as well. Of course, this plan has 2 more days, and I glanced down, and they very important. We ain't gonna read them tonight, though. We just gonna, what I'm gonna do is, if we do Uncommon Husbands Part 2, we just gonna start off with these 4 and 5, and then go into the new one, because I don't want to skip them. Especially if you see day 5 about the best thing a dad can do for his kids is, and they had left a blank. You get a lot of answers. But we want to talk about what it says. So I'm not gonna do it tonight because I want y'all to keep it compact, kind of nice and neat. But we'll if we do part 2, we'll bring it in and tie it into part 2, man. So man, before we move on and conclude today, man, if there's any lasting thoughts that you guys have from the lesson so far, please share it with the viewers and the listeners, and we'll get ready to wrap it up, man. Go any one of y'all, man.
Man, the thing that I've learned in this life, man, especially with being with my marriage now, like I say, man, this is just to be up close and honest. This is my 3rd marriage that I'm on right now, and you know, I've learned a lot, man, within this marriage, because I believe that it really made me grow from some boy moments in my life and to become the manly man that I'm supposed to be, and the man that's supposed to show love, and the man that's supposed to be patient, the man that's supposed to be kind, the man that's supposed to be all those things to be uncommon, because the thing about it was, man, I could say this with true saying. When me and my wife now just got married, I was common. I was a boy. You know what I'm saying? Because I handled things in a boy way. I didn't handle things in the manly way that I'm handling them now. But it all comes back to spiritual growth and maturity. You have to take yourself out the equation. You have to deal more with not yourself. Less of me, Lord, and more of you is what I need. And that's how I'm able to become an uncommon husband.
That's good, man. That's good stuff, man.
I think for me, I'm just really excited for the future. You know, it's only been a month and a few days, but you know, even this last month has been a lot. You know, a lot of joy. But I know that there's gonna be some down times. I'm ready for it. We're both ready for it. We pray every day. We pray together. We're preparing for those worst days, because you know, of course, the honeymoon stage, they call the first few months, everything going well. But it's gonna be those days where you know we're really down and out. That's gonna really matter. And I think for me, growing up, I always looked to my mom. My mom was always a very selfless person. She was always the most loving, the little things. She always did the little things, you know, that you wouldn't expect an ordinary person to do.
Right.
And just a little shout out to my mom, because she really, she really molded me to, you know, the man I am today. My dad too, but I have a lot of ways in my mom, I gotta be honest. But my mom, you know, she did a lot for me. But my wife, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to look up to you guys, the years y'all have, and the lessons I've learned from y'all over the month, year I've been knowing y'all. You know, it's just a blessing. You know, marriage is really a blessing, and it's an investment too.
It sure is.
And I'm ready.
That's what's up, man. I believe you're ready too. I can tell you. And the good thing about it, man, it's constantly it's evolving. It's always evolving. And no matter what age you get, no matter what age I get, if you wise, you just wise. Yeah. So if grown hearts have to talk to Brother Tommy, sometimes the role reverse. You'll think that mentorship got to be one way, oldest to youngest. It don't always go like that. Sometimes they just go through experiences. And some people have some experiences that they just know how to deal with them, and they deal with them differently than you would. And so always be open-minded to hearing things when people are trying to do something constructive or say something constructive to you. We talked about that earlier. Can you take criticism and instead of being retaliatory and upset about it, reflect on it and see can it help you? Because even in the worst things that we deal with in life, if it's always a flip side that you can get something from it too. Because even when somebody treats you bad, if you didn't learn nothing besides the fact that you don't want nobody to feel the way they made you feel, then you learned something. Because even that person that didn't speak back to you, you know how it made you feel for going out of your way speaking to them, and they disregarded that. So in your mind, if you didn't get nothing else from it, you learned that you don't want to make nobody feel the way they made you feel. So you still got something. You still got something anyway. So man, that's just what I wanted to share, man. I thank you guys for tuning in and watching us and tuning in. If you have any comments, you can leave them. You might be able to watch it later, and we still see it. Like when we post it, we still see it. It comes notifications throughout the week. I hope you guys take it, man. This is great food for everybody of all ages, no matter how long you've been married. If you're considering to get married, if you've been married, if you was thinking about not being married no more, these lessons are for y'all. Somebody out there was listening to this. If they didn't listen to it, hopefully they do listen to it, because I learned God has a way to bring about his message to someone who needs it. And even if you don't have a church home, no pastor, nothing, God finds very unique ways to get a point across to you. And this might be just one. You might have wasn't planning on watching Real Talk today. But some kind of reason you got on here and you didn't get off. Because I know I'll flip through regular channels and mean to keep flipping, and I'll stay on there for a few minutes. So what I'm saying is I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is when you run across this. You might see the title and say, you know what, let me see what they're talking about when they got uncommon husbands. And at parts when you feel like I want to get off, well, you'll have an urge to keep listening. And something in there is for you to get. So that's all I'm saying, man. Thank you guys again. Remember, it's not about being liked. It's not even about how people feel. As long as you make sure that whatever you say, you bring passion, you show respect. The most important, you keep it real. That's Real Talk, Kingdom Discussions. Another episode 60 is in the books.